I don't usually talk about this, not because I don't remember it, but because I remember it too clearly. I was deployed to Afghanistan in late 2011. I won't say exactly where, but it was a small forward operating base, one of those places that didn't really exist unless you were there. No civilians, no names anyone would recognize, just dust, mountains, and a single stretch of road that everyone quietly agreed was dangerous. That road was our problem. We patrolled it constantly. Same route, same timing, same jokes over the radio. After a while, you start telling yourself that routine means safety. That was a mistake. There were 6 of us on patrol that morning. I was third in line. Sergeant Holloway was out front. He'd been in longer than most of us, and he had this calm voice that made everything feel manageable, even when it wasn't. I remember him joking over comms about real food. Something stupid. Burgers, I think. I remember thinking about how hungry I was. The road narrowed as we moved through a shallow valley. Rocks line both sides. They've been shifted around so many times by locals, by weather, by previous patrols, that none of us really paid attention to them anymore. That was mistake number 1. Holloway lifted his hand. He didn't say anything. And then the ground felt like it inhaled. That's the only way I can describe it. It wasn't a bang. It wasn't sharp. It was like the earth took a breath, and then everything disappeared. I don't remember hitting the ground. I just remember staring up at the sky, trying to understand why everything had gone quiet. My ears were ringing so badly, it felt like pressure inside my head, like something was trying to force its way out. Someone was screaming. After a second, I realized it was me. My throat burned. I couldn't hear my own voice, but I could feel it tearing out of my chest. Dust hung in the air, drifting down slowly like dirty snow. When I finally pushed myself up, the first thing I saw was Sergeant Holloway. He was still standing. I felt relief, real relief, for about half a second. Then my brain caught up. His right arm was gone. Not mangled, not hanging, just gone, clean to the shoulder. His rifle was lying in the road beside him like someone had gently placed it there. His helmet was missing. Blood was running down the side of his face in slow, steady lines. But he was still upright. He took a step forward. Someone shouted his name. I don't remember who. Holloway didn't respond. He took another step. Slow, careful, like he was walking through deep water. That's when I saw his chest. The blast had torn his vest open. I could see ribs. I could see inside him. And I remember this thought, clear as day. No living person should still be moving. He turned his head toward us. His mouth moved. I couldn't hear anything. Maybe he was trying to speak. Maybe he already had. Then he took one more step and collapsed forward. He hit the ground face first. Not like a man falling, like something that had just run out of instructions. After that, everything blurred together, shouting into the radio. Perimeter checks. Med calls we already knew were pointless. Someone grabbing my shoulder and asking if I was hit. I don't remember answering. They told us later he died instantly. I know that isn't true, because of what happened that night. I was on watch in the guard tower. The base was quiet in that way that only happens in the desert at night. No wind, no movement, just darkness pressing in from all sides. The mountains looked like black teeth against the sky. My body was exhausted, but my mind wouldn't slow down. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him standing there. That's when I noticed movement on the road. At first, I thought it was nothing. Heat distortion, fatigue, my eyes playing tricks on me. Then I realized it was a person, walking toward the base. No gear, no rifle, just a lone silhouette moving slowly out of the dark. My heart started pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. I raised my binoculars. It was Holloway. Same missing arm, same torn vest, same injuries that should have made it impossible for him to be standing, let alone walking. He was moving toward the FOB like nothing had happened. I froze. My finger rested on the radio switch. I should have called it in immediately. I don't know why I didn't. Something about the way he walked, calm, deliberate, made my stomach twist. He stopped about 50 meters out, just stood there, facing the base. Then he turned around and walked back into the dark. I didn't move for a long time. When I finally reported it, command told me it was shock, stress, hallucination, grief. They said my brain was trying to process trauma. I wanted to believe them. But 2 other guards reported seeing the same thing. At the exact same time. We never talked about it after that. A few weeks later, the road was rerouted. We were told it was for safety reasons. Sometimes, though, when I can't sleep, I still picture him out there, walking, not away from us, not toward us, just walking. There's a rule in the military that no one really says out loud, but everyone knows. If something doesn't make sense out there, you don't ask too many questions. You just log it, and you move on. This happened during my second deployment. Iraq, 2016. We were attached to a logistics unit running supply convoys between smaller outposts. Boring work mostly, long hours, long roads. The kind of assignment where nothing happens until it does. Our convoy had 6 vehicles. I was riding in the 4th MRAP, handling comms. Radios were my responsibility. That meant constant noise, status checks, call signs, static bursts, background chatter. After a while, your brain stops really listening. That's important, because if I'd been paying attention earlier, I might have noticed when the radio changed. It started subtle, a faint transmission breaking through the static. No call sign, no proper format, just a soft, clicking noise, like someone pressing the transmit button without speaking. At first, I ignored it. Open mics happen all the time. Someone breathing too close. Gear rubbing. Accidental keying. I was about to flag it when the clicking stopped, and a voice came through. It was weak, distant, strained. Anyone hear me? My stomach tightened instantly. The voice wasn't Iraqi, not local. It was American. I keyed the mic, asked for identification, asked for unit. No response. Then the voice came back. We're still here. That's when I checked the frequency. The channel was dead. No one was assigned to it. I ran through the roster in my head. Every unit operating within 50 miles. None of them should have been on that band. I reported it to the convoy lead. He told me to log it and keep monitoring. The transmission came back a few minutes later. They won't stop watching us. Same voice. Same exhausted tone. Only this time, there was something else underneath it. Breathing. Not normal breathing. Wet. Uneven. Like someone struggling to pull air through something damaged. I asked again for identification. This time I got an answer. This is Bravo 27. My blood went cold. Bravo 27 had been wiped out the year before. IED ambush. No survivors. I knew that because one of the guys in my unit had trained with them. He'd show me the memorial photo. I told command immediately. They told me the same thing they always do. Interference. Old equipment. Atmospheric distortion. They ordered radio silence on that frequency. I complied. The transmission didn't stop. It broke through anyway. This time, the voice was closer. Louder. Like whoever had moved right next to the mic. We're running out of time. I could hear others now. Whispers. Overlapping voices. Some crying. Some yelling. Some just repeating the same words over and over. And then came the sound I can't explain. Footsteps. Crunching gravel. Moving in circles. The convoy slowed. Everyone felt it. You could sense the tension shift inside the vehicle. No one was joking anymore. No one was talking. Then the voice screamed. Not yelled. Screamed. They're coming out of the dirt. The transmission cut off mid-sentence. Dead silence. No static. Nothing. I sat there staring at the radio, my hands shaking so badly I had to brace them against my legs. After about 30 seconds, command came back on the main channel and ordered an immediate halt. They asked me, very calmly, what I'd heard. When I finished explaining, there was a long pause. Then they gave us new coordinates and told us not to ask why. We arrived at the location just before sunset. There was nothing there. No vehicles. No debris. No blast marks. Just an empty stretch of desert and a shallow depression in the earth, like something very large had been buried there at some point. Our radios crackled again. Same voice. Very quiet now. You found us. I dropped the handset. I didn't mean to. My fingers just stopped working. The convoy commander ordered us back immediately. That night, every radio in the FOB started transmitting. Same frequency. Same voices. Dozens of them now. Some begging. Some warning us to leave. Some laughing. All of them overlapping. All of them wrong. The base shut down communications for 12 hours. When the systems came back online, That frequency had been wiped from the logs, like it never existed. The next morning, we were told Bravo 27 had never operated in that region. We were told the incident was a stress response. We were told not to discuss it. But here's the thing. A few weeks later, I was cleaning my gear, and I found a radio log I'd written that day. Every transmission was there. Timestamps, exact wording, including one final message that never came through the speaker. It was logged automatically. One short line. We can hear you breathing. There are things you learn in the military that don't make it into training manuals. Unwritten rules. One of them is this. If command tells you not to ask questions, you definitely don't ask why. This happened during my last deployment. Afghanistan, 2019. We were assigned to a remote observation post, barely more than a concrete slab, sandbags, and a communications tower bolted into the side of a mountain. The kind of place that exists only to watch. No patrols, no engagement, just observation. We were told the post overlooked an inactive valley. No known enemy movement. No civilian traffic. Nothing of interest. That should have been a red flag. The first strange order came during our initial briefing. The officer was very specific. You are not to descend into the valley. You are not to photograph the valley floor. And under no circumstances are you to look directly down for extended periods of time. Someone laughed. The officer didn't. He just repeated it. Slower. We took turns on watch, scanning the valley with binoculars. At first, it really did look like nothing, just rock, dust, and uneven ground stretching out beneath us. But after a few days, you start noticing patterns, dark shapes that weren't there before, long impressions in the dirt, like something had been dragged repeatedly across the ground, then erased, then dragged again. We reported it. Command acknowledged it, and told us not to adjust our viewing angles. That night, I was on watch alone. The valley looked different in the dark, deeper, like it wasn't just below us, but pulling at the edge of the post. I leaned forward without thinking. Just a little. That's when I heard it. Breathing. Not behind me. Below me. Slow. Deep. Rhythmic. Like something enormous sleeping with its mouth open. I froze. I told myself it was wind echoing through the rock formations. That happens in the mountains. I heard it before. This wasn't wind. This had timing. I stepped back. The breathing stopped. The next morning, one of the guys, Ramirez, didn't show up for shift change. We found him sitting at the edge of the post. Not over it, just close enough to look down. He was awake, eyes open, breathing shallow and fast like he'd been running. When we asked him what happened, he just said one thing. It knows our names. Medical took him off the post that afternoon. They said altitude sickness. The next night, I heard the breathing again. Longer this time. Closer. I stayed exactly where I was. Didn't lean. Didn't move. Didn't even blink. And then, I heard whispering. Multiple voices. Coming from the valley. They weren't shouting. They weren't calling. They were reciting. Names. One by one. When it reached mine, the whisper paused. Like it was waiting to see if I'd react. I didn't. The breathing slowed. Satisfied. Over the next week, it got worse. Every night, the voices got clearer, less distorted, more familiar. They started using the voices of people we knew. Mothers, wives, brothers. One guy swore he heard his own voice calling up from the dark, begging himself to come down and finish it. Command stopped responding to our reports. Not delayed, not denied, just silence. Then one morning, the valley was gone. Not filled in, not hidden, gone. Where there should have been depth, there was only flat rock, as if the earth had sealed itself shut. Command immediately ordered evacuation. No explanation, no debrief. As we were packing, I noticed something carved into the stone at the edge of the post. Deep grooves, like fingernails. There were names carved there, all of ours, except one, mine. That night, on the helicopter ride out, I finally slept, for the first time in weeks. And I dreamed of standing at the edge again. Only this time, I was already looking down, and something below was smiling, because it finally knew where I was. I need to be careful with how I tell this, not because it's classified, but because every time I think too hard about it, my memory starts feeling unreliable, like something's been edited. This happened in Syria, 2018. We were operating out of a temporary compound, bare bones, thrown together fast, meant to be occupied for weeks, not months. Concrete walls, floodlights, tents inside tents. The kind of place where everyone knows everyone else's face. That part matters. Our unit had 12 people. I know that for a fact. 12 bunks, 12 lockers, 12 names on the duty roster. On our third week there, I noticed something small. An extra pair of boots by the entrance. At first, I assumed someone had just left theirs outside. It happens. Mud, dust, laziness. I didn't think about it until later that night when I saw the boots were still there. No one claimed them. The next morning, there were 13 names on the duty board. Not written differently. Not squeezed in. Like they'd always been there. I asked who Keller was. The guy next to me looked confused. Keller's been here since day one, he said. I laughed, thinking he was messing with me. He didn't laugh back. Over the next few days, I started noticing Keller everywhere. Always just off to the side. Never at the center of a conversation. Never giving orders. Never being introduced. But everyone acted like he belonged. I watched him eat with us. Train with us. Stand watch. Here's the part that still makes my chest tighten. I couldn't remember his face. Every time I tried, my brain slid off it like it didn't want to hold on. I could describe everyone else in detail. Scars. Voices. Mannerisms. With Keller, all I had was a shape. A uniform filled by something pretending to be familiar. One night, I checked the roster again. 13 names. I counted the bunks. 13. The extra one was against the far wall of the tent, slightly separated like it had been added later. I know it hadn't been there before. That night, I dreamed I was standing in formation. But when I looked down, my boots weren't mine. The next day, I finally confronted our squad leader. I asked him directly how long Keller had been with us. He stared at me for a long time. Then he asked me if I was sleeping. He told me stress can do strange things. That deployments mess with perception. That I should stop isolating myself. Then he added something quietly. Just don't make him uncomfortable. That's when the fear set in. Because no one asked who he was. They were worried about how he might react. Things escalated fast after that. People started forgetting small things. Passwords, call signs, radio procedures we'd practiced for months. But Keller never forgot anything. He always knew where to stand, what to say, when to nod. One evening, during a head count, something went wrong. We counted 13, then 14. No one noticed except me. I felt sick. I excused myself and went to the comms tent. I pulled archived footage from the perimeter cameras. I shouldn't have had access. I watched the recordings from the first day we arrived. 12 soldiers exited the transport vehicle. No Keller. I skipped ahead a few hours. Still 12. Then, on a camera facing the inner compound, I saw him. Standing near the wall. Already there. No arrival. No movement. Just present. When I rewound the footage, he was still there. Watching the camera. That night, I woke up to someone whispering my name. Keller was standing beside my bunk. Close enough that I could smell dust and metal. You noticed, he said. His voice sounded like everyone else's voice layered together. I'm not supposed to stay this long. I couldn't move. I needed the number to be right, he continued. 12 feels incomplete. He leaned closer. You'll forget soon. The next morning, there were 12 names on the board. My name was gone. Everyone called me Keller.